Look at me. I've got one arm, I'm stuck watching YouTube videos. The only way this could get sadder is if I was talking about Steven Universe. What's this video about? Oh no!
Life and death and love and birth and peace and war on the planet Earth.
The psychology of death has very much in common with that of love, which is to say that a fear of death allows for a love for life, and a love for life allows for a fear of death. The two are intertwined, inherently linked, and to understand what it is to love real human love is to understand what death is. Steven Universe is a show that is an exploration of what it means to love. Romantic, platonic, familial, it covers it all. But if love and death are tied together in human psychology, then shouldn't Steven Universe also be an exploration of death? And in a way it is. Death is explored a surprising amount throughout the show, through imagery, themes, and, people actually dying. But what I want to explore pertaining to the original quote is how the show explores these intertwining, very human concepts through the very alien Diamond Authority. But how exactly are the Diamond Authority alien? Well, aside from being from another planet, the gems as a species are biologically very different to humans, which is necessary to understand when discussing their relation to death.
The Classroom Gems! What are gems?
Gems are effectively computers, purpose-made for specific tasks in gem society. Pearls are in servitude, rubies are bodyguards, quartz are soldiers, this one's a comb. Rather than being born, these gems are grown in the ground, injected as a liquid and forming into a gem state by absorbing the nutrients from the surrounding area, typically leaving it dead and barren. The gemstone then interacts with their environment through a hard light projection that can take a variety of forms and dissipate if dealt substantial damage to reform later. From what we are shown, gems cannot die. They are immortal beings. Their closest equivalents, shattering and corruption, either leave the consciousness fragmented within the broken pieces of the gem, or revert the gem to a primal feral state, respectively. Either way, the gem is still technically alive, and in both cases can be restored. Therefore, for the Diamond Authority, the ruling class of Gem Society, who are rarely actively involved in their colonies, it makes sense that they would have no concept of death. It doesn't exist in their internal society, and they've never really interacted with truly organic beings enough to witness it. And this is how the linked psychologies of death and love are explored via the diamonds. They have no concept of death, and thus cannot understand love. Pink Diamond and her transformation into Rose Quartz and subsequently the birth of Steven is an excellent showcase of this idea. Pink Diamond, as we meet her, is angry, selfish, and has a frivolity towards life that demonstrates a lack of empathy or love for her fellow beings. Her abandonment of Spinel and scarring of Pink Pearl are ultimately cruel actions that differ from her persona of Rose Quartz, someone who would abandon everything she ever knew to defend the lives of those she never met. So, what changed? Yes, I get that physically she changed a lot, but When Pink Diamond inherits the Earth as a colony and begins to visit it, witnessing the life that is present on its surface and consequently the death that comes with that, her character changes. By understanding the human concept of death, and how her actions on the planet are causing it, she begins to develop a love for life and a desire to protect the planet and its inhabitants, standing up to her fellow diamonds and taking on the persona of Rose Quartz. This culminates in Pink faking her own shattering and abandoning her identity as a diamond, to live a life where she can be free to love and protect those who love. By no longer being a diamond, but rather a lowly quartz, Pink becomes a representation of these linked psychologies. Through her character growth, she demonstrates that to understand love, one must first understand death. She started with a concept of neither and developed one after witnessing the other. And this is the philosophy behind Steven. By having Steven, Rose becomes the first and only gem to ever really die. In an act of sacrifice made in the name of love, Rose became mortal, justifying her love for life by making her experiences worth something more than just her own. She created a gem life that, through his human heritage, could understand mortality and death, and thanks to that understand the love and passion in a way that no other gem ever could. I know people like to throw stink that Rose had Steven for some grander purpose, but there was no ulterior motive for Rose making Steven other than just wanting a child that could live a life full of love. A philosophy that Stephen, through the show, routinely passes to fellow gems thanks to his unique perspective. And boy howdy, does Stephen do this pretty routinely throughout the show. But the mind he changed in Change Your Mind is the one I want to focus on. White Diamond, as the head of the Diamond Authority and thus the whole Gempire, is the most disconnected character from the idea of mortality. There is no comprehension of it, as she has never had to deal with it. And thus we see her form of love twisted and self-serving, and understand that because she does not have the psychology of death, she does not have the psychology of love either. Everything is an extension of her, and she treats it as so, not understanding the experiences of a being different from her, capable of change. This is especially apparent in how she treats Stephen throughout the episode. She treats Stephen as if he were Pink because she genuinely believes that Pink is still alive, dormant within her gem. She's incapable of understanding that Pink is dead and no longer exists until it is literally screamed at her.
She's gone!
And this shatters White's worldview. This is her first experience with death, and everything that happens in the episode after this is a kind of condensed reaction to this. She's willing to hear Stephen out, heal the corrupted life forms, and end the oppressive regime of Homeworld, because she now has the beginnings of an understanding of what it means to love, and thus respect another. And when we see her subsequently, both in the movie and in the future, we see that she is now capable of real human love where she wasn't before. Her treatment of Stephen, the other diamonds, and Spinel may be overbearing and sometimes misguided, but is a genuine form of love that would have been wildly out of character prior to Change Your Mind. White Diamond becomes a very compressed demonstration of the psychologies of death and love being psychologically linked. Initially, she has no concept of death and no true feelings of love. She experiences loss and understands what death is, and thus develops a love for life that allows her to feel love for those around her. While the ending may be rushed for homophobic reasonings, White Diamond's redemption doesn't come out of nowhere. Through Pink's sacrifice to make Stephen, White is able to begin to undergo a similar character arc to Pink, making for a thematically consistent ending to the show. The psychology of death has very much in common with that of love, is a concept that Steven Universe runs with, being a constant through line throughout the show, demonstrating that both are needed to be human. Without one, you cannot have the other, and without either, you become truly despicable.